to read you a couple paragraphs from Liberty and Tyranny, and I'm doing this so when you hear this or have heard this in the last few weeks from some people, you'll know where it came from. As I say, it's taken me 16 months to get this book organized and written, given everything else I have to do. But it's very, very important. And I say in Chapter 1 in part, the Declaration of Independence represents the most prominent, official, consensus position of the founders' rationale for declaring independence from England. By the way, do you ever hear liberals read from the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution? No, unless they're defending terrorists, you never do. But let me remind you of this excerpt, because it's key. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with each other, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station of which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The founders believed, and the conservative agrees, in the dignity of the individual, that we as human beings have a right to live freely, and pursue that which motivates us, not because man or some government says so, but because these are God-given natural rights. Continuing. Like the founders, the conservative also recognizes in society a harmony of interests, as Adam Smith put it, and rules of cooperation that have developed through generations of human experience and collective reasoning that promote the betterment of the individual and society. This is characterized as ordered liberty, the social contract, or the civil society. This is key, ladies and gentlemen, not just to my book, but to understanding human nature, the founding of this nation, and we, conservatives. In this civil society, the individual is recognized and accepted as more than an abstract statistic or faceless member of some group. He is a unique, spiritual being with a soul and a conscience. He is free to discover his own potential and pursue his own legitimate interests, tempered by a moral order that has its foundation in faith and guides his life and all human life through the prudent exercise of judgment. As such, the individual in the civil society strives, albeit imperfectly, to be virtuous. That is, restrained, ethical, honorable. He rejects the relativism that blurs the lines between good and bad, right and wrong, just and unjust, and means and ends. The individual has a duty to respect the unalienable rights of others and the values, customs, and traditions, tried and tested over time, passed from one generation to the next, that establish society's cultural identity. In the civil society, private property and liberty are inseparable. The individual's right to live freely and safely and pursue happiness includes the right to acquire and possess property. Property represents the fruits of his own intellectual and or physical labor. As the individual's time on earth is finite, so too is his labor. The illegitimate denial or diminution of his private property enslaves him to another and denies him his liberty. Further down in the book, the modern liberal believes in the supremacy of the state. He rejects the principles of the Declaration and the order of the civil society, in whole or in part. For the modern liberal, the individual's imperfection and personal pursuits impede the objective of a utopian state. in this modern liberalism promotes what French historian Alexis de Tocqueville described as a soft tyranny, which becomes a hard tyranny, some form of totalitarianism. And since the word liberal is in its classical meaning the opposite of authoritarian, it is more accurate, therefore, to characterize the modern liberal as a statist. And you will be hearing this from me forevermore. They are statists. They are authoritarians. They believe in a soft tyranny or worse. They represent government, bureaucracy, themselves, not the people. The founders understood that the greatest threat to liberty is an all-powerful central government, where the few dictate to the many. They also knew that the rule of the mob would lead to anarchy, and in the end, despotism. And I go on, but I won't go on here. But we will go on when it comes out on March 23rd. And we will confront the statist, the leftist, the authoritarian. We will use our founding documents to make our case. We will assert our principles, our conservative principles, which are the founding principles. We will take this country back. We will take this government back. We will fight the leftist, and we will defeat them. Because we have no choice. We have no choice. We'll be right back.